These are very large claims. There's no way such a good game can exist, can there? Well, I mean, they're not technically wrong. Let's talk about that. Hey buddy, rise and shine. Oh, looks like you've already had quite the adventure. Can't remember what happened.
I don't know.
Maybe this will jog your memory then.
Oh, I am so
Down by the river.
If you've been hiding under a rock, Baldur's Gate 3 is a Dungeons & Dragons-based multiplayer RPG. You and up to 3 other friends can gallivant around the world, looting, killing, negotiating, trading, and romancing anything with 2 eyes and 4 limbs, perhaps sometimes even more. Back to these claims. What's their proof? Does my opinion even line up with theirs? For perspective, I have 3 save files, one for me and my 2 buddies, and one for me and one of those 2 buddies, which we play on when both buddies aren't available. And my other buddy has one with, you get it, I have 6 campaigns on the go. Any game with a good enough story and gameplay to have you play through a tutorial and a solid chunk of the game 6 times has to have something good going for it. But how is it so good? 3 words. Dungeons & Dragons. Combat itself is based on the D&D 5th edition rule set. Actions in combat are turn-based, and there are a certain number of things you can do each turn. The further you get into the game, the more you can do. Additionally, you can use the environment to actively hinder, or in this example, blow up your enemies. Or sometimes the enemies use that to their advantage. High ground, have some higher accuracy. Standing in fire, enjoy being burned. While combat is interesting and very open-ended, it really isn't too much more than Pillars of Eternity, with an additional graphical update and a few tweaked mechanics, like shoving people as an additional bonus action. It's the non-combat that Baldur's Gate 3 truly sets itself as a North Star of unparalleled freedom that's a shining example in the genre. Now, look at that. 3 quotes in one. So the non-combat then. Let's break it down further into 2 separate sections, exploration and dialogue. There's nothing inherently wrong with the exploration in Baldur's Gate 3, but it is definitely the least interesting part of the game, and that says a lot because it is still fairly interesting. It's shocking, really, considering how much there is to do and explore. Rather than rely on sprawling stages like Breath of the Wild that exude grandeur and wonder normally associated with exploration, Baldur's Gate 3 taps into curiosity, dread, and fear. How is the environment going to kill me this time? Is this chest a mimic? What if I missed something important? Exactly like D&D. Well, that just leaves the dialogue. Both combat and exploration are great, but nothing revolutionary. Process of elimination, seriously? Dialogue is the main seller of this game? Isn't that what the skip button is for? There's a reason Elden Ring bosses only make you watch their cutscene once. More than once, and it becomes a bit monotonous. By that logic, Larian Studios has somehow taken the monotony out of dialogue and cutscenes to the point where the game is pulled so far away from other games. What did they do differently? Well, let me show you. This is a skill tree in Guild Wars 2. This is going to be our stand-in for a dialogue tree that appears in an ordinary game. You select options, you get linear results. Then games like Undertale exist. We'll represent this with Enshrouded's skill tree. Your actions begin to have consequences. You can make friends with everyone or kill everyone. And your ending changes depending on your actions. Ultimately though, you're either peaceful, a killer, or a mix of both, and once you lock into that role, you need to reset to be able to choose another. Path of Exile fans may have seen this coming, but this is the skill tree that represents Baldur's Gate dialogue options. Not even a skill tree, honestly, more like a bloody tumbleweed of options. I'll use an in-game example here. Mild spoiler warning for something that occurs about an hour into the game if that's a little too much. Take a look at the bar down below. There should be a timestamp labeled minor spoilers. Just jump to the next section. Cool? Spoilers incoming. They're gone? Cool. Okay. When you approach the druidic leader, she's holding a tiefling child, baby 5-finger discount, hostage, because she attempted to steal a powerful druidic relic responsible for sealing the sacred grove that you're currently in off from this realm. Her logic and reason seems to be a bit off, but protecting her people makes a sort of sense. She then uses the lowest intelligence, most logical guard at her disposal, a very venomous viper trained to strike if their captive moves even a muscle. Yeah, the viper is guarding a prepubescent, guilt-ridden, scared, nervous, fidgety girl. You can all see where this is going, right? Just in this one scenario, you can take the matter into your own hands and duke it out with the druid leadership. You can deftly navigate the scenario using persuasion rolls to save the girl's life. You can do nothing and watch as the girl dies. You can try to save the girl, fail, and watch her die. You can talk to other tiefling children and help them steal the relic in her stead. Heck, you could probably pickpocket Volo's invisibility potion, drink it, and steal it right out from under the noses of everyone. Haven't tried that one, you should try that. Or, you could murder hobo everything and just take the relic by force. Welcome back, time skippers. You know what? Spoiler section? Who cares? Ignore all of what I just said. Live your life. Skip the counter in its entirety and let nature take its course. Even the built-in companions of the game, ones with desires, wants, wishes of their own, can be completely slaughtered and or ignored. You can punt a squirrel into a tree if that tickles your fancy, but obviously there is a limit to the options available. You are correct. That number is 46,000. The absolute gigachad voice actors at Larian Studios recorded over 1.9 million words of dialogue. Considering your character doesn't speak, you merely choose to say what you do, you effectively have 46,000 unique responses. That is an uncanny number, honestly, and those are just the announced pre-release beta numbers. They've added even more since then over several updates and balance changes. Just so we can compute how large this number actually is, I want you to take the entire Harry Potter series, the books, all of them, read them all, and then do it again. That's how many words there are. Now, of course, there'd be a pretty short game if every action gave you another ending. Double a grain of rice for 30 days and it'll cover the moon kind of a thing. But with a reported 17,000 different unique endings, I doubt you'll be in short supply. If you consider each ending does vary on which allies you take, in what combination, what the relationship status with you is, if any of them died, the different actions or inactions that you took based on their storylines and how they concluded, the good ending, the bad ending, it's absolutely insane what they did to make this game function. Okay, well, there are other games with a lot of dialogue options, some with a lot of lines too. Huge open world games. Look at Oblivion, look at Skyrim. But Larian somehow manages to make every single line not only fit the game, but every single delivery is oozing with quality. You know what? Example time. This is from Oblivion, another voice-acted RPG.
Watch out! You will surely take the fight! All flesh and no fury.
Let's compare that to the bland, out-of-context moment from Baldur's Gate 3. Completely random, I assure you.
You licked a dead spider. Dead spider. You licked it. That is something that happened.
Okay, so maybe not completely random, but the game has so many good line deliveries. They're actually YouTube compilations of the best lines. I honestly can't look at other dialogue the same again. My expectations, knowledge of what is now possible has forevermore been raised. Every piece of dialogue is masterfully acted. Mouths actually line up with models. The reviews in the intro, yeah, they're entirely correct. There is no video game that exists to this date that has both a scripted variation to this caliber and also manages to keep up with an enticing capture on the audience. The tabletop game that it's made from, Dungeons & Dragons itself, is the only game I can honestly say comes close, and that's only because you have a living, breathing meat person designing and adapting the game based on the whims of the players. But not even normal D&D games are like that. You gotta go straight to Critical Role or some other fully voice-acted campaign with multi-$1,000 budgets with custom sets for anything along the line of Baldur's Gate 3. But even then, you can't seduce your D&D table without getting some weird side eyes. You can in Baldur's Gate 3. I did have a few negative aspects coming into this game. However, those were taken out during some of the updates and balance issues. I didn't like the fact that death was inconsequential. Well, For Honor mode exists. Death is permanent. You cannot reload saves. Every dice roll matters. I also didn't like how my highly customizable character felt like a third wheel, kind of just on the ride with the other main characters' story arcs. Well, Play the fully customizable Dark Urge class. Suddenly, you're actually given a full story arc, just like the other characters in the game. And if you don't like anything specific, well, guess what? There's mod support for everything. When I decided to play this game again for this review, on For Honor mode this time, there were even campaign swapping differences. Your early cleric buddy, normally found shortly after waking up on the beach, she's gone, already in camp, so you have to get through an onslaught of enemies alone in order to reach it. I personally only survived because I had a wild magic surge that allowed me to outpace these intellect devourers while casting everything I had at my disposal, chugging potions, and blinking just out of range to be able to survive. And being lucky. And that's what makes D&D and Baldur's Gate 3 such a fantastic game. It's got the right mix of randomness, characters you can really get attached to, and a story that leads you well into the unknown. I honestly rated this incorrectly. Too much time has passed since I played this with my friends and my memory got a bit hazy. Baldur's Gate 3 truly does deserve an S++ position. It is so absolutely flawless of an experience. It blends visual excellence with dialogue, music, sound effects. There is nothing that is left to be desired in this genre of game. If you have not played this and have the money to get it and want to be fully immersed in a world of magic and wonder, I cannot think of a better game out there. Thank you for watching to the end. Hit the like button if you made it this far. On the left side of the screen, you'll see a playlist of my previous reviews in order of completion dates. And on the right side is the subscribe button. If you did make it this far, consider subscribing. It doesn't hurt you at all, really helps me out. Thank you. I hope you're having a lovely day. Later.